have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, happy Monday. Thank you so much for listening to the Bold Moves podcast. I'm the host, Mandy Bryce. This is episode number 353, and I am super thrilled to share my chat with Merisa Lewis. She is a fellow podcaster who has started 2 successful businesses while recovering from a botched knee surgery. She is so inspiring to chat with. I loved our conversation. It's so relevant, even though it happened like 6 weeks ago. It is still, we're in the midst of the coronavirus situation, and we talked about healthcare, and we talked about rights, and we talked about race, and I think you'll enjoy this conversation. I hope you do. And without further ado, here is Merisa Lewis to tell her story. Hello, everyone. Today I am with Merisa Lewis. Welcome to the show, Marisa.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, you know the show is called Bold Moves, and you wouldn't be on here if you hadn't made any. So I would love it if you could share with me your story and some of the risks that you've taken along the way.
Okay, well, I think my bold move started sight unseen after I tore my ACL. So I was in grad school and playing basketball, and I tore my ACL. At the time I was working in sports. Actually, I was working in sports, but I wasn't feeling like I was valued at my organization. So I quit my job like maybe a month before I tore my ACL. And I was like, I'm gonna just figure it out. So I tore my ACL, went in for knee surgery, got out of surgery, wasn't getting better. I was scheduled to graduate December of 2018. Ended up graduating, but in the midst of that, my knee wasn't getting better. So I went back to my doctor and found out that I had to get another surgery with a different doctor because my guy wasn't my original doctor. He was not listening to me when I said I was in pain. So I got a second opinion. And when they went into my knee to remove scar tissue, they found that my doctor left 2 pieces of plastic in my knee. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Because ACL tears are very common, and I think that's probably a pretty standard surgery that shouldn't have complications. So it is strange that you weren't getting better. And then do you feel that your race has played a role with doctors not listening to you? Because I feel like I've read a lot of women of color being ignored because of a perceived higher threshold for pain or complaining and just different various racial overtones. Do you feel that that was a role in your situation?
Absolutely. I would say even initially when I went to get, before I got my diagnosis, I went to the doctor and he was like, I don't know if your ACL's torn or not. And I was like, okay, well, it doesn't feel normal. And I definitely tore the other one before. So I think something's wrong. So even in that initial consultation to try to figure out had I been injured and getting the MRI, he messed with my knee a little bit. And I will say I do have a high pain tolerance, but that's not an excuse for not doing your job.
Right.
So he took blood out of my knee. I came back in and he was like, yeah, it looks like your ACL's torn. And I was like, I kind of told you that. So after the surgery, and I went back to him and I'm like, listen, man, it's not getting better. And his quick fix was like, let me give you a cortisone shot. I'm like, but you're only supposed to have 3 of these like in a lifetime. And I'm already at 2. So like if I'm at 2 at 26 at the time, what do I have to, like, when I get to my mid 60s, like, and I need another cortisone shot, that's it. So
did you get the shot?
No, I didn't. I left his office and I said, this is not right. I know you're not listening to me. You're telling me that my ACL is not torn, but the new MRI is showing that the graph is compromised. And he's like, no, and I'm doing all these tests in the office and it's fine. And you just pulled blood from my knee, which is a sign of a torn ligament if you're pulling blood from my knee. And then you just give me a cortisone shot. And I'm like, but you told me when I first met you, if you see blood coming out of my knee, that's a sign that the ligament is torn. So why now is it not torn if you just pull blood a second time after we had the surgery? So it makes no sense. And I think it had to do with my color. But I didn't let that stop me from going to get a second opinion because I know my body. I was an athlete, so I know when something's not right. And getting that second opinion, not even 10 minutes in that office, the new doctor was like, oh yeah, this is torn. I don't even
Right.
have, yeah, we're going to go in there and see what's wrong. And then we
Yeah.
saw the plastic and saw that he put it in the wrong position. He had a party in my knee, and then he
Wow.
just left. And then I had to get a third surgery. So after that third surgery, I had an ACL surgery. I had to get a reconstructive bone graft, some meniscus surgery the second time. Then I had to go back in for another ACL surgery. And all this during doing grad school at the time and hoping to work in sports. So that dream was pushed to the side for about 24 months because it's like, I can't physically do my job, which is sports
Right.
marketing. So decided to move back home. My co-host on my podcast, also my best friend, she was like, Marisa, you're really good at marketing. You should start a marketing agency. And I was like, you know what? I mean, I have nothing else to lose. I'm sitting at the house rehabbing. Why not?
Sure.
So I started my marketing business in March of 2019, and we've been in business for a year. But I'm also one of those people that likes to have a lot of passion projects and a lot of things, just a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
So I started also an assistant living facility in Orlando. Knew nothing about the business, but I'm like, I have a business degree. I might as well do something with it, right? So start something else. My mom is a nurse. I have a business background. We have this empty house. Why not? So
Okay.
make some moves.
I guess so. So I know you just said that your mom is a nurse, and I'm sure that that played a role too in just being aware of your options and making sure you're cared for with your knee.
Yes.
Um, did that also, I'm sure, play a role in choosing to start an assisted living facility? Because I feel like that's something that's you just don't randomly or most people don't just
Yeah.
randomly start. So it was that something that was aligned with your passions too, because that's definitely different from sports.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So my mind, well, for me, one of my goals, like I make 5 year, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year goals, and
Okay.
in my 10 year plan, my goal is to retire my mom.
Okay.
And because I had to move back home, I had to now pivot my career path and just go all in on this entrepreneur stuff.
Sure.
And I have the marketing background, and I have the business background. My mom loves taking care of people, that's her thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love that. I can handle like the admin stuff. And if I want to retire you, why not open up a facility where you don't really have to work full time, but you can come and hang out with the residents.
Sure.
And then yes, I'm adding something to my portfolio, but I'm not necessarily doing it for me, it's for her. So
Mhm.
it was one of those passion projects because I want to retire my mother.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that.
Mhm.
So can you tell me more about what you were doing in sports, and now are you still marketing in sports, or are you more general or a different niche?
Yeah. So when I worked in sports marketing, I used to work for the University of Florida.
Okay.
Also worked for the Tax Slayer Bowl up in Jacksonville, and then FAU in South Florida, and then I
Okay.
worked for the Miami Dolphins in game entertainment.
Oh,
That was my last job before I had to exit sports and
sure.
do this knee stuff.
Yeah.
But in starting my own agency, I'm completely out of sports in a sense, but I do marketing for small businesses
Okay.
and startups just looking to get their idea to market and not sure how to tell their story. So they'll come to me with an idea, and it's great. You have all this passion, but how is that going to translate to money? Why
Right.
do people want to buy your product? What makes your soap better than, like, your soap different from somebody else's? Like, it's
Sure.
great. Like, you put all this passion in it, but like, why is it going to sell? So
Okay.
my job now is to take all this information that they're giving me, all this passion that they're giving to me, and putting it out in the right channels so people will buy it. So that's what
Okay.
I'm doing now with Lewis Marketing. Um, I do keep in contact and with some of my sports contacts, and I still go volunteer. But right now we're shut down, so I won't be going to volunteer for any
Right.
big sporting events. So if like the bowl season, NFL Pro Bowl, when they come to Orlando and stuff like that, I'll still go and connect with those people, because you never know. It might
Right.
be, as right now, I don't see myself going back into sports, but you always want to keep those relationships
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
you made. But it's completely different. I like it because it's challenging. Marketing in sports was challenging. It's fill the seats, butts and seats. But with marketing in general for different industries, with the clients that I work with, it's a challenge because I can't use the same strategy for each client. I
Right.
can't. Yeah. So I think it's still giving me that fulfillment that I got from working in sports and hitting those numbers that I always wanted to hit for my particular sports or whatever the promotion was. I'm still getting that
Okay.
excitement from doing that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, regarding your recovery, have you fully recovered? Or do you still have pain sometimes, or like, are you still impacted by that doctor and what he did?
Well, yes, I'm not fully recovered. I will say I'm able to ride my bike. I can't run yet. But I was told, because my knee was been through trauma like 3 times, so it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
take a little bit longer than usual. But I'm grateful for being able to run and do the little things that I can. I can do mini squats. I can do certain things. I can go and work my way in the gym because staying healthy and fit is a part of my lifestyle. So I can
Right.
do those things. I can hike and whatnot. Unfortunately, I can't sue him for malpractice, which would have been ideal, but I can't because I didn't have a catastrophic injury in their mind. I couldn't, like, I didn't have a limb that needed to be removed or anything. So
Sure.
that's unfortunate, but I mean, I guess it's a blessing because now I'm working for myself and I'm all in on this entrepreneurial wave and I'm helping my mom, and so it worked out. It sucked that
Yeah.
it had to work out this way, but it worked
Sure.
out.
Okay. Are you in physical therapy, or were you, I guess, before the
Yeah.
lockdown came?
Yeah, I was in physical therapy. Oh God, PT is, I would not wish that on anybody. It's terrible. I
I'm
hate it.
married to a physical therapist.
Listen, man, like, I know the protocol, and it's like, ooh, I'm back again. Okay, you got to get to 90 degree in a week. Oh gosh, okay, it's just so painful. It's
Yeah.
worth it, but I hate my therapist at times. I do.
I've cried on the table. I'm not proud to admit it, but
Oh
I,
yes.
and I think it's worse too because I'm like, you take it personally when it's your husband.
Like, why are you doing this to
Yeah,
me?
like, that
Dang.
hurts. Are you mad at me?
It's like, no, this is gonna be for your own good. It's like, but is it though? Is it?
So you mentioned that we're on lockdown and this has come up. So I don't know. Hopefully by the time this airs, it's over. But
Hmm.
it doesn't seem like there's that soon of an end in sight. I'm curious with the various different things you're doing, how this has impacted that. Because obviously marketing is something that you still need. And I'm sure you needed to pivot some strategies and for
Yeah.
some of your clients. And then for the assisted living facility, is that still, like, I mean, you obviously didn't evict everyone, I'm assuming. So how is
No.
that working?
So, well, currently we're on lockdown, so which is unfortunate because a lot of the residents, they can't see their family members, so no one can come in, no one can go out.
Right.
So we have that in place, so they can call them, Skype them, but they can't just come here and see them because
Right.
we have to protect them. In
Sure.
terms of the marketing, most of my clients were service based, so
Mhm.
I've now pivoted to using my expertise to brand myself. So
Mhm.
I have a lot of knowledge in marketing, and starting businesses and just being a millennial and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I am now trying to brand myself by writing ebooks and coming up
Mhm.
with courses, something that I can make some passive income off of, but
Mhm.
also things that are really helpful. I have shared them with some of my peers, or people are looking to just get into passion projects now that we don't know how long it'll take for us to open back up. So this is the perfect opportunity. If you feel like you have the strength or energy to start a passion project,
Yeah.
I want to have resources on my social media pages and also on my website that will help those people get their ideas that they couldn't necessarily do while they're working a 9 to 5. Some of them may be furloughed, some may unfortunately have lost their jobs, but it's now you can use that time to focus on this idea that you had in your head. And my goal is to just be there as like, okay, I'm a coach. I'm going to coach you to how to get this idea to market or get this passion project. You want to start a podcast? Let's start it in 30 days. Why not? You don't have anything else to do. So that's what I'm doing now in that direction.
That's fantastic. And I love that you prefaced it with if you have the energy, because I feel like on social media, I mean, there's always different pressures and things people are saying that potentially make people feel bad. But even myself as an entrepreneur who works from home most of the time anyway, the first few days that this was going on, I didn't do anything. I know. Like my life wasn't that different other than my husband being home, and then we fostered this dog. But like, I don't know. It was a lot to take in. And still sometimes I'm like, I haven't really done anything today. And
sometimes you need a Netflix day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm so glad that you're not like pushing the hustle porn and, because I think people could then feel even worse that they're like, well, now I don't have any excuses. Well, you don't need excuses. You need to rest sometimes.
Exactly. You don't want to be burnt out on, I don't want to call it a vacation, on a temporary vacation, like a temporary situation, and then you have to go back to your job and you're like, all right, let's go. It's like go time. Like, but I have no energy because I was burnt out because I was going so hard. I know social media, like you said, it's like, well, if you didn't come out, I saw a quote, if you didn't come out of this period at home with a new side hustle, a new hobby, or some passive income, then you have no excuse, you're lazy. No, this is a very traumatic experience. Anxiety is real. Depression is real. You cannot put, somebody might have lost their job. So you telling me they're lazy because they lost their job and now they're depressed and they didn't want to start a side hustle? That's not accurate.
Right. Or their family members. People are literally dying. So
exactly. So I don't understand that mentality. And it works for some people. You just have to know your personality type. So if you feel like, okay, I can manage this and I can add something else to my table because I'm bored, then you do it. But if you don't, it's okay. If you just want to watch Netflix, it's perfectly fine.
Right. I'm glad that we're on the same page there. Thank you for saying that. So going back to your story, because there's I say this probably half of my podcast episodes, because usually when you meet somebody who's made bold moves, it's not just one and then they're done. So you have the, entrepreneurial elements of, quitting the job, starting your business, starting another business to help your mom. And then of course the aspects that go along with your knee. Through all of this, and maybe it's something that you haven't even mentioned yet, but I'm wondering what the scariest thing that you've gone through has been.
I would have to say depression. So through all of that, I would like to say I'm a control freak. And I think that's great in a sense if you are an entrepreneur, because you know that you are in control of your destiny. But I have, like I said before, I have this plan for my life. I know now, in going to therapy and talking through this with a therapist, that some of these things you cannot control. But back when I went through all of that mess, it was like, I'm not controlling the pieces on the chessboard anymore. So it was hard for me to let go of everything and be like, you know what? Like, I'm at rock bottom. I can't move literally. What else do I have to lose but just like let go of control and see what happens. So that to me was the hardest thing. And then also letting other people know that it's okay to like go to a down season, because I am usually the happy-go-lucky one, the strong one in the group, or like around my peers and like in my family, like my cousins, they look to me like, oh, she sets the tone for everybody else. So now I'm breaking down and like, I don't like my situation, one, and I feel like I'm alone. And then something like the gears in my head was like going, I'm like, this is not normal. You love life. You need to go talk to somebody about this. And having had that, the switch flip in my head and going to see a therapist and realizing, I guess it was very egotistical. I don't know if that's the right word, of me to think that I'm the only one that goes through these problems. And
Right.
I appreciate my therapist for pointing that out. I was like, you really think you're the only one that's going through this type of stuff? And I was like, no, that's very self-centered of me for thinking that. So now take that experience and share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm going through it alone. So
Yeah.
I had to get through that. That was a very big step for me. And now I'm an advocate for therapy. Like,
Yeah.
everybody go to therapy. It's
I
amazing.
agree. I think it should be, at the minimum, it should be like the dentist twice a year. If you're
Oh
feeling
my gosh.
fine, go twice a year and, get some skills, coping skills,
Yes. Oh
or
yes. Yes.
for stress, or like, I think everyone could benefit from it. So
Therapy. My therapist is like my homeboy. Like, yeah, call him by his first name, and I know I don't know if I'm too open with like my therapy experience, but I'll like call up my best friend, like, guess what me and Eddie talked about today? Oh my goodness, like this is a big blind spot. I did not know about it.
yeah,
Yeah, now I'm gonna fix it. And like, it's great. So now I'm like, everybody go to therapy. It's wonderful if you want to change your
yeah,
situation.
true. Or live well, live better.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, yeah. I think it's great that you're open with it, because I think that it's something that has a stigma unnecessarily, and it shouldn't.
It
So,
shouldn't. No, it's the best thing you could ever do. Best
well,
thing you could ever do for your life.
absolutely. I always ask people how they push past the fear. And for you,
Mm.
therapy was part of it. Do you have any other suggestions for anyone who might be about to make a scary choice
Mhm.
that could potentially help them?
Well, I always say now that if you're gonna fall down now. So when you get back up, you know not to hit that pothole again.
Okay.
So for me, I didn't know what I was doing when I started business. I fell down, I stumbled a lot,
Hmm.
but I got back up and I kept trying, because the only person that's gonna stop you from being great or doing what you want to do is you.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and within that falling down or just not hitting those markers that you probably set for yourself, you are growing, your character's growing, you're showing that you have perseverance because you didn't quit. And you're also
Hmm.
learning a lesson, and eventually it'll lead you to your purpose.
Right.
And that's and there's a silver lining in everything. For me, obviously my silver lining was having to move back home, because I was like, graduating, gonna go keep on working in professional sports. That's it. But I had to take a step back, pivot, and the silver lining within all of that was, you're gonna be an entrepreneur. All those things that you had on your board that you wanted to check off, you're checking
Hmm.
them off. You're not working in sports, but those things are still getting checked off. You're just taking a different. You just pivoted into a different direction, but they're still getting done.
Yeah. I love that. That perspective is so valuable, because we can be so hard on ourselves. And I love too that you said like the benchmarks that you set for yourself, because as an entrepreneur, there's nobody most of the time, other than, the people that you have to pay
Yes.
bills for. There's nobody checking on you and making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, because you don't have a boss. And I have
Mm-hmm.
beaten myself up so many times, and my husband has been like, who does that impact if you didn't do that today, or if you didn't reach that mark? Like, you made up that rule. like,
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
settle down. It's not the end of the world. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right.
That's one of the big ones that I had to like get through in therapy, because I tell my therapist, like, you like he like lists out all the things. He's like, you had a surgery in this amount of time. You're back. You just started 2 businesses. You still can't walk properly. You worked for a political campaign. You did all these things. And why, I don't understand, like, why are you so hard on yourself? I was like, because I'm not impressed yet. He's like, well, I'm
Yeah.
impressed. Like, you need to be impressed with that, because if somebody else did this, would you be like proud of them? I was like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. He's like, but why don't you feel that way about yourself? Because you just did all of that. I was like, when you put it like that, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny, because it's the same way where like that's the positive way of looking at it, but then there's the other thing too, where like, what if you heard somebody was saying the things you just said about yourself to your friend? Like, you'd be
Yes,
furious.
yes,
So
absolutely. How dare you?
exactly. I love that. Well, I imagine during your recovery, and especially with deciding to start a couple of businesses, that you have done some reading, because if you can't walk, you may as well read, right?
Oh yes, absolutely,
So I would love to hear
absolutely.
some book recommendations from you.
I guess the first one I have is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by
Okay.
Mark Manson. And I love that book because it just teaches you how to not care about what everybody else thinks, and don't strive to be happy, because if you're striving to be happy and you don't get that, then you're disappointed. Just be yourself. The main I guess the main point in the book is just be yourself and live life and just go with the flow. And the second book that I have is called I'm Judging You by Lovey Ajayi. I'll spell that Luvvie and that book is basically a manual of how to be a better human being. So it could be something as simple as saying thank you to the person that holds the door, or not going crazy on social media because someone has a different opinion than you and like attacking them. So there's a space for everybody's opinion. You might not agree with it, but their opinion should be allowed to exist in the world, and you should not jump down their throats because you suffer from groupthink. So those are my two go-tos. Definitely read if you have some time during this lockdown.
All right. Thank you for those recommendations. I'm curious too with, and I'm surprised I didn't ask this earlier, but since you're doing such different things with the marketing and with the assisted living facility, which you explained why you're doing, I'm wondering, or during this, period of therapy or your recovery or any of it, if there was self-discovery, if you have uncovered your purpose or your thoughts on what that is for you, and if you wouldn't mind sharing it.
Yeah, well, I think my purpose now, before I thought it was to help kids within sports and that lane, but quickly I realized that my voice, a lot of people listen when I talk, and I wasn't aware of that. I until when my best friend, the one who told me to start the business, she's like, people don't listen to me, they listen to you. You don't talk a lot, but when you talk, people listen. I was like, you think so? So I tried out the study, and I just like threw something out there, like, I think we should do this. And then I broke it down and like, yeah, let's go do that. And I tried it a couple times with other people, like in my life, like older people, younger people. And I have a way of taking complex lessons and ideas and bringing them down to something that a 5-year-old can understand, 20-something-year-old can understand, a 50-year-old understand. So now I think my purpose is to use my voice, one, to tell my story that it's okay to pivot and learn how to work your weight, because within that, I found my purpose was to now use my voice to show other people that, one, as a Black woman in America, yes, there's some things against us, but look at all the positive things. If you have that defeated mentality all the time, what are you going to accomplish? We're going to, yes, there's some trash stuff going on. Forget that. This is what I went through. I'm the control freak. How now I am here. How do I get you to that mindset? And that is done through my business and coaching people, and getting them through marketing or whatever that may be. But eventually I want to fine tune that and have a TED Talk. So I haven't lived enough life yet to have one of those, but eventually I'll get there. But I was able to find my silver lining, and my silver lining, letting go, and obviously having a spiritual awakening and realizing that, yes, I am stubborn AF. And the only way I could have pivoted into my purpose was having to go through this trash 20 something months of hell. But I found my voice within business, but then I'm now going to springboard that to be an inspiration for other people.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I hope you go back to physical therapy when you can, and that you don't hate your PT, and that you make a full recovery so that you can run up onto that TEDx stage.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll do a couple squats and be like, this is for my therapist.
There you go. Perfect. So you've given so much great advice just naturally in the conversation, but if there's anything else that's like on your heart, mini TEDx stage time, any lessons that you've learned that you haven't shared yet, that you would like to in this podcast, I'd love to give you that opportunity now.
I would say work your weight, and that is my personal mantra. And within that is you find the silver lining amongst things you cannot control, and through that it'll help you discover your purpose in life. Whatever situation that you're in, there is always a silver lining, and usually that silver lining will guide you to your purpose. You might not know it yet, but if you just look at the silver lining. And also, I know everyone is not spiritual. If organized religion is not for you, that's fine. If you find your way through meditation, yoga, chakras, crystals, all of that, and you become still, you will find your silver lining, and it'll help you, because you're not, when being still is working your weight. Just become still, work your weight, find that silver lining, and things usually work out. No matter, like, they work out. I have not seen when they haven't, unless you're being a super pessimist, but be optimistic. Yeah, they always work out.
I love that. What exactly does work your weight mean? I've never heard that before.
So in this journey that I've had through entrepreneurship and depression, and just finding the new Marisa outside of sports, not tying my identity to my work, I fell in love with God again. So that was reading, listening to sermons, listening to podcasts, and, just getting back into and spiritually. And I was listening to a sermon, and they were talking about how valuable the wait, like the time period where you think that you're supposed to get to the pinnacle of your purpose, and while you're waiting, I don't want to call it purgatory, but for this, and I'll say purgatory, like, so as you're roaming and you're like, I wonder when I'm gonna like get there, because like I want to get there, I'm just waiting for him to like shoot the gun off, like, let's go, I'm gonna get to that finish line. So while you're waiting to get to that pinnacle, you have to work that waiting.
Okay. So WAIT, not WEIGH.
Oh, no. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Wait. Like, stop, wait.
Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
Work that time frame, that time period that you may be your season of downtime, I guess. Yeah. I don't know how to put it in a different phrase, but
if you wait, that works.
Makes
sense.
You're waiting for something to happen. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire today. But okay, before you get to that millionaire status, what are you doing before? You're waiting to become that, right? So within that wait, how are you working to become that millionaire?
Yeah. Okay. That makes so much sense too, with, while you're in a hospital bed waiting to be able to walk again, make use of that time.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
That's a great motto. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if people are listening and they want more Marisa, where can you be found online? Or if they want to hire you, if they want to follow you on your journey, watch you work your weight, where are you?
Well, I'm mostly on Instagram. So you can follow me on Instagram at mer.lew.
Okay.
So I'm on there, going crazy sometimes, just a little bit. And then for my marketing business, that Instagram is Lewis MKTG. That's it, Lewis Marketing, and we can have conversations. And if you guys want to talk about working your weight, I mean, you can always get in the comment section, or send a friend request, or slide into DMs, and I'm glad to talk about working your weight.
Awesome. And you have a podcast. Where can we find that?
Yes, my podcast is called It Hits Different, and we talk about some of the things that we just spoke about today, and just geared to millennials, but older people. So we want to unlearn groupthink, all that negative. Oh, well, you don't like oranges, but I like apples. No, you have to like oranges too. No, we don't want you to get on somebody's back because they like apples. That's our podcast, but that can be found on Instagram as well. It's called @_It Hits Different. And our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're on YouTube too. So
fabulous. Well, I'll make sure that all of that is in the show notes so that people can access it easily. I usually say in case they're out running or driving, but people aren't doing that very much right now.
Listen, man.
All right. Awesome.
Checks out.
Yeah. My last question for you is, if 8-year-old Marisa had a crystal ball and could see the whole journey to 2020, which is now crazy, on a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little Marisa be to see the whole thing, as well as, the foreseeable future, which
8-year-old Marisa would be over the moon. She'll do 11 plus. 11 plus.
All right.
Yeah, everything here is amazing. We're on the bonus level right now. Like, this is more than I could dream of. And I mean, even with all of that happened to me, this is great.
I love to hear that. That's fantastic. It's my favorite when people who have gone through challenges still give a high answer, especially over 11.
Oh yeah. Listen, man, everything right now, we're on borrowed time, and I know that. And I mean, I was originally from Guyana, so everything that I do in the United States, starting a business, all these things that I have been able to do as a woman and as a Black woman in America, I can't do in the country that I'm from at this level. So I'm grateful for that opportunity as well. So 11 plus.
Beautiful. And when did you move here? You didn't mention that.
At 8.
Oh my gosh. At 8.
At 8.
So that's extra exciting, because
yeah,
depending on what part of 8 you had that crystal ball.
It's like, what? You're coming to America and you're going to start businesses and you're going to go to college and you're going to get like multiple degrees, which is like, even trying to get 1 degree over there, that's like challenging. But you got multiple. Yeah. Listen, man, this is amazing.
I love it. Well, Marisa, thank you so much for sharing your story and your energy. One of my favorite things about my podcast is how I feel at the end of every interview, because I, get to soak in wisdom and energy and great things from great people. And I appreciate you for being that for me today. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. If you are looking for more Marisa in your life, her podcast, her social media handles, websites, book recommendations, all of that can be found at the show notes, which are at boldmovespodcast.com. While you're at that site, I invite you to also check out my free ebook, Pivot, for how to make money online, primarily for service-based entrepreneurs. There's also tons of other good stuff there, so feel free to browse around. While I am making demands or requests, I would love it, of course, if you shared this with anyone who you think would find it valuable or interesting. I would love it if you subscribed so that you don't miss an episode, including a challenge coming from Marisa on Friday. And I'd love it if you left some nice reviews on Apple Podcasts. All of these things will not only help you and your friends that you share this with to hopefully make steps toward the lives of your dreams, but it'll help me reach my goal of impacting people's lives positively and as many people as possible. Whether it's sharing it directly so that people directly hear from you that you endorse this and want to hear it, or working with the Apple Podcast algorithm that the reviews will encourage it to be suggested to other people. The more people who hear these positive things, the more people change their mindsets, start going after their goals, become more confident, and are just overall happier because they're getting closer to the lives they wanted. That's my goal. I appreciate your help with it, and stay tuned for more. As always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.